Hi, good morning. As always, if grief is new to you or the loss that you're going through is new to you, if you're finding yourself struggling for any reason, even if it's many years down the road, if you've decided that you're struggling, that you need help, please see my links below. The suicide hotline number is below, and links to different counseling services also is below. Remember that many pastors, churches, and organizations do offer free counseling. Please try to find something for yourself. My videos, I hope, are helpful, but they aren't a substitute to that one-on-one help that you can get from seeking a professional. It takes years, and I am going to do a video about how to work with your counselor and how the process works. It can be very, it's not going to be fast. You don't show up one day, see a counselor, and they just, okay, here's what you do. This is how you get happy. This is how you get over that, is a term we don't use on this channel. But, it's not like that. It is a long, long process, and you have to stick with it. And, uh, but it's well worth it if you find yourself needing it. And, but on today's, show, I want to talk to you about Kay Warren. Now, I don't know if you know who Kay Warren is. If you're in the church world, you might. Her and her husband pastor a very large church called Saddleback Church. And her husband is famous. He's Rick Warren, and he's a published author. He has one of the best-selling books of all time. And so that's who Kay Warren is. She is his wife, Rick Warren's wife. And they have, I think, 4 children, I want to say. But anyway, their son, Michael, I believe it is, had a mental illness for many, many, many years, and he threatened suicide for many years. They are very wealthy because of Rick Warren's books. They sought him all the help that a person could possibly get. They had all the money on earth to get him any treatment that was out there, and they did. They did everything they could. And then they got the call one night, I think it's been 6 or 7 years ago now, that just, that your son that he had killed himself, that he had committed suicide. And so Kay Warren and Rick Warren have a ton of things on YouTube. I'm sure if you go to the church website, Saddleback Church, I know it's become kind of at least one of the focuses of their ministry is to help the grieving. But on YouTube, there are many things that they've done, and usually it's them talking about their experience, and it has been very helpful. It's taught me that I'm not alone. It taught me that that no matter how you fight to save your loved one, sometimes it just doesn't help. And my son died of more natural causes, but still, it's just, they have such a ministry of telling their story. But recently, because I've listened to most of their content. Once in a while, she'll come out with something new on grieving or something, and I always listen to it. Usually on Mother's Day, she'll post something. But she just happens to be someone I follow on Facebook. So I was in Texas and had very little time. I was just on Facebook at night. You know how you do, just trying to say hi to a few friends and things. And I really didn't have time. I'm trying to help my mom pack up her house and relocate down to Wyoming. She is recently widowed, and she feels like it's time now to relocate closer to friends and family down here in Wyoming. So I had not a second to my day. I wasn't reading books. I'm not searching out stuff for the YouTube channel. You can tell that there's been a huge, like a 3-month gap in me posting videos because, I need to be helping my own mother through her grief and with what she needs help with. Even as much as I feel like this channel is very important, I had to really help my family. That's, if anything, I have the experience that I've been through. I'm not going to neglect my mother, just to make videos. As much as this, I feel like it's very important. So, long story short, I wasn't really taking in any content of any kind, but I just got on Facebook and her thing popped up, and it was her interviewing a man called Jerry Sittser, Sittser. And I've posted the link to the content. Now, you may have to join her Facebook page. I'm not sure if it's just on YouTube unless you It may even be just on her Facebook page. I will link it below, whatever it is. But if you're grieving or going through any kind of loss, even if you just temporarily follow her on Facebook, and then maybe even her husband, Rick, I don't think that you will be disappointed in any way. Even if you're not a Christian, um, which I know that that's always an issue, and this channel is not about um, every single thing being how a Christian resolved their grief, or is working on their grief. Resolved is a bad word. But with Kay Warren, she talks about all kinds of things that have helped her, and many people that I mention on this are not necessarily Christians. I mention anything that has helped me in any way, and then I hope that you will get some good out of it. And that's the same with this. Jerry Sittser does, he is I guess you would consider him a Christian author. He wrote a book 25 years ago called A Grief Observed. And it's a very famous book. You might have even read it if you were given books when you were grieving. It would be one of the books that someone may have given you. And he lost his mother, his wife, and one of his children in a drunk driving accident. And it talks about him rebuilding his life. I have downloaded the book on Audible. I haven't even read his book yet. Of all the books that came my way, especially in church and everything, when I was grieving, it's one that I think I've actually picked it up at a thrift before, and I thought I need to read this because it talks about grief. But then I didn't know his story. It didn't seem like something I wanted to dig into. I may even have it. I need to check before I buy another hard copy. But I have downloaded it on Audible, and as I can, again, I'm someone who believes in that dual process of grieving, where you don't just take an entire day and bombard yourself with grief stuff. You do the work, just like you do any job. You do a certain amount of work on it, and then you put it aside, and then you try to live life. You try to do positive things, and then you go back to it, and you dig into it a little bit more, and you deal with it a little bit more. And so that's what I'm doing with this. But I came across this on Facebook. It's over an hour long, and he brings out so well things that he experienced. Kay Warren brings out her experience, even though they have two totally separate ways that their loved ones died. It is something that I really encourage you might be helpful. I hope it is to you like it was to me. It encouraged me enough that she talked about how his book over the last 6 or 7 years after they lost their son was highlighted, underlined, tear-stained, because so many quotes and things out of the book just brought them back to, how they should deal with their own grief. And it's interesting because this is 25 years later, and this is an anniversary copy, I guess, is why they're doing some of the promotion of his new book, because the book's been out there for 25 years and helped millions and millions of people. But now he's got an anniversary edition, which is what I downloaded on Audible. And it has just a lot of new information, a lot of new updates. And so I wanted to make sure that you were aware of this. And please post below if it helps you like it did me. I don't want to give away too much again about the hour-long conversation, because a lot of it... I guess it's just as I talked about on my last video. Sometimes the only thing you get out of something is just knowing that your feelings aren't alone, that you aren't alone in your feelings. And it just helps you move forward and know, okay, some people, if I were to tell them how I'm feeling, 4 years almost, my son will be gone 4 years in July of 2022, when so a few months from now, it will be almost 4 years. And, if I were to share that I'm still struggling in certain areas, that I still can't quite get a handle on how this part of my life is going to recover after what's happened. If I were to share that, even with some family members, most of my family members are wonderful. They get it. I'm very blessed to have some very strong support systems. But there are people that I know that if I were to share that, they would treat me like I have too much protracted thought about having lost a child. And so the purpose of some of these is to understand that this man, 25 years later, has not forgotten about his daughter, his wife, and his mother. Doesn't mean he wakes up in great despair every day. He doesn't. He has made a very positive life out of the tragedy that happened. He is a professor. He's gone forward with his life, kept his job, has a wonderful career. And he did remarry, but obviously he hasn't replaced that daughter, and you never replace your mother. So, I can just tell you that I just hope that you'll maybe check into that. I just wanted to recommend it. It certainly helped me. And so that's really all I have to say. This channel is a lot about my experience, but I also want to forward on to you things that I feel are helping me. And sometimes they won't. You know, I've heard a ton of people talk about grief, and sometimes I listen to them, and for whatever reason, it might be that I wasn't ready for what they had to say. And then now, 3 or 4 years later, I should probably go back and listen again and see if I'm ready. Some books I've been given and some things I've been given, they just did not help me. Or one little quote did help me, but I read an entire book just to get one little thing out of it. So, all I can do is just recommend things that have really moved me forward on my path and helped me to feel less alone, and to help me think of ways of processing the death that I've been through and the changes that my family has been through. The reason I like Kay Warren is that she's also a pastor's wife, which I am. And she's just very tell it like it is. And she talks about some experiences in her church, things people have said to her, you know, about, well, I lost my dog too. I get what you're going through, you know, things like that. I've had very few people who really were that low end who, you know, made it similar, your dog dying to your son dying. I've had very few experiences like that, but I've heard that many, many people do. And we have to be very forgiving of that. People don't know what to say and they trip over their words. You know, even when I'm trying to encourage someone who has a new loss, I feel like even though I should know above all people or with all people as much as most people what to say, I sometimes don't really say the right thing, I think, because I haven't lost that person that they've lost. So anyway, check it out. Look below for the link. It's Jerry Sittser. You could also just pull up some of his content alone, but I think the interview with Kay Warren is so good. And then maybe it'll just introduce you to both of their content about grief. And so I hope this helps you guys today. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.